Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 5:30 p.m., Monday, March 25th, 2019, and I'm calling this meeting of the City Council of the City of Paris to order. The invocation will be led by Gene Anderson and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Hughes. Everyone stand, please.
May we pray? Heavenly Father, we're indeed thankful for every blessing that you give us. We pray, Father, for our nation, that you would guide us and direct us in all things. Father, we pray for this local council, Father, that you'd give them wisdom and understanding, help them with the matters that they'll deal with tonight. And we, Father, just praise your name for your goodness and your mercy to us. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is a citizens forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentations to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personnel appeals, are not appropriate for citizens forum. The citizens forum is now open. Anyone wishing to address the council, please step up, give your name. Yes, and give your name and address, and you have 2 minutes.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Larry Shank, and I reside at 3765 Dawn Drive here in Paris. I'm here to speak to you about a concern I have with regard to the closing of the crossover across from the Town Center Shopping Center and sending all of that traffic to Dawn Drive. In 2014, the City Council adopted Resolution 2014-037 supporting closure of this crossover and the construction of a new crossover 550 feet south, but not to Dawn Drive. And I provided you some reference materials to read. As recently as November 16, 2017, TxDOT official Mr. Dan Perry, the TxDOT official in charge of such matters and preparing possible alternative short of closure, and in sharp contrast to how he has been quoted in the Paris News, wrote, "We don't want to force all the traffic down to the Dawn Drive crossover." Now, as you know, that is exactly what TxDOT intends to do to solve the problem on the cheap by forcing all the traffic down to Dawn Drive. Our current exit onto the loop is treacherous as it is. I have found no information that TxDOT or the city has done any kinds of studies to determine the safety issues or the impact on our subdivision caused by this change. To me, we are being used to solve someone else's problem. In fact, your resolution is actually being read by TxDOT as if that you want the closure, but ignoring the part about the new crossover. We, as Morningside residents, ask if the council's resolution has been revised to ask for the traffic to move to Dawn. Why, when TxDOT offered alternatives to closure and sending the traffic to Dawn, the city turned them down? If someone has made the decision as to doing this, or was it the will of the council, and what the council's position is now and why? Clearly, someone has invited input from local businesses in the city. My question is, when was someone going to ask what we, the people most effective, thought of this idea? And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
My name is Anna Spencer. I live at 1710 34th Street Northeast, Paris. I'm a member of the Airport Advisory Board. Item number 16 on your agenda tonight is to discuss and act on amendments and enforcement of hangar leases. I'm asking that you not approve this amendment based on these facts. The airport receives money from the state. The board member requesting this change has a conflict of interest in this matter by being number 18 on a waiting list for hangar rental, and he's number 18 on a list of 18. This member was allowed to join in the discussion and to vote on this issue. I also feel that the requested change is not in the best interest of the airport.
You're speaking about one particular item on that, Ms. Spencer? There's a whole slate of proposed amendments. Are you speaking about just the one regarding the waiting list? Okay.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
that item in particular, that subject in particular, I would like for you to vote against it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of Paris City Council, I want to say thank you to each one of you for allowing us to be here and express our opinions about what goes on within our city.
Can we have your name and address, please, sir?
I just came from my home a while ago. I live at, by the way, I'm Charles Whitley. I don't think I told you that. I live at 725 Southeast 38th Street, which is about 100 yards from the turnaround that goes into our neighborhood, into Morningside. I just left there a little while ago, and as I got to this intersection, I had to stop. I was going to cross the northbound lane and get in the southbound lane to drive up here. Well, I made it across the northbound lane easy enough, but I had to sit there for quite some time. Luckily, no accidents, but I counted 31 automobiles that I had to wait for to get past. My point is, there's already a pretty good stream of vehicular traffic on that particular area, and I'm just very concerned that by taking away the turnaround north of there and putting all that traffic down, that's going to double the traffic load in there. And unless they come up with some miraculous idea about traffic control, I don't see any decrease in the number of automobile accidents that are going to happen. I don't have a solution to this, but we do see the problem, and I thank you for your support, your service.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council? If so, please step up. Seeing none, I will now close the citizens forum. Next is a proclamation declaring the month of March as Project Paris Pride. Ms. Fleming and your students, if you'll step up, please. Whereas Paris, Texas has existed formally since February 1844 after George Wright donated 50 acres of land for the establishment of the Lamar County seat. The population in 1900 was 9,358. The U.S. Census in 2000 states 25,858, and in 2006 lists 26,490 residents. By 1860, Paris was populated with millers, furniture makers, and craftsmen that established Lamar County as a, quote, high-wages industrial region. And whereas there were 3 fires that destroyed our courthouse, including a devastating fire that roared through downtown on March 21st, 1916. This fire became one of the largest and most costly fires in the history of the United States. By 1918, most of the downtown had been rebuilt, and today, the City of Paris downtown historic structures remain one of the largest collections of 1916 through 1918 buildings in the nation, and have earned a designation on the National Register of Historic Places. And whereas Project Paris Pride is recognizing 6 historic buildings in downtown Paris by placing bronze plaques with QR codes identifying the building's history. And whereas Project Paris Pride increased access of history by recording a downtown history walking tour with a QR code on a brochure given out at the Chamber of Commerce with a map. And whereas Project Paris Pride initiated and began the first Lamar County Junior Historical Commission. And whereas Project Paris Pride recorded an oral history tour through the Lamar County History Museum and uploaded the tour with a QR code and posted it on our website. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Paris does hereby declare the month of March 2019 as Project Paris Pride Month.
Right.
Next is consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that anyone wishes to pull for further discussion? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. All in favor of the consent agenda? All unanimous. First regular agenda item is item number 13. Conduct a public hearing, discuss, and act on an ordinance considering the petition of the City of Paris, Texas, amending zoning ordinance number 1710 of the City of Paris, Texas, regarding uses in the general retail and commercial zoning districts by amending Section 8, use of land and buildings, by amending Section 12-100, specific use permits. John, you want to discuss this with us?
Yes, sir. At its meeting before last, the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed two things, and the other one we'll talk about on the next item. But this one is better specifying the difference between commercial and consent. If I do that again, I just did. I've got some health issues this evening, which prohibit me from breathing, which is a nuisance. Commercial and general retail should be very different. Commercial tends to be a much more intense land use, should be, that's what it's supposed to be. And retail is more of a neighborhood, kind of a low level, not a lot of traffic, not a lot of noise, not a huge amount of customers. And I don't know, most of our ordinance, or much of our ordinance is from the early 70s. And over that much time it's evolved, so we got a lot of arcane words in there even. And we got a lot of uses that just don't work the way they're supposed to. And so one of the priorities for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and also it's in the comp plan that was adopted by the commission and the council last fall, summer or fall, specifically recommendation 1519, talks about changing those out so that there's a significant difference between them, and so that the general retail is much more what it's supposed to be. It's much smaller, not so broad of a deal. So in the case of general retail, we took out a number of or recommended taking out a lot of uses, all the residential uses, farms, ranches, orchards, major utilities, that's water and sewer. And the reason for that is because they don't need the zoning. We don't have to change the zoning if we're going to put a water line in somebody's property. Repair services, laundromats, pawn shops, billboards, and which is covered by the sign ordinance in any case. And research laboratories, those are the kinds of things that we feel, and apparently the commission agreed because they unanimously approved it, don't need to be in general retail. We added, by SUP, columbarium and food trucks. A columbaria is where you put ashes for, so we're treating it like a cemetery or any other type of graveyard. And then land uses that changed, household appliance service and repair. We've added an SUP for that, so that depending on how big it is, the SUP gives you opportunity to change some other things on that. And on the commercial, there were not as many changes, but we did delete the residentials again, and the major utilities and the billboards, and also sexually oriented businesses, which is something that's disturbed me a lot since I've been here. There's a lot of sexually oriented businesses based on our definition of SOBs in our community, and we have lots of commercial areas. And you are required, if anybody's asked you this or told you this, we are required basically by court ruling to have sexually oriented business zoning somewhere, because it's America and you're supposed to be able to have that. But you don't put it in your commercial district. Based on that, you could put a sexually oriented business without a whole lot of trouble on Lamar Avenue, for example, because it's allowed in commercial. We've got commercial everywhere. So we certainly want to take that out. And again, we added the columbarium and food trucks. Columbarium, they're allowed outright. One of the questions you may have is why are we picking on residential? And it's because that's old school zoning. Old school zoning was like a pyramid, and residential was at the bottom. And anything you wanted to, you could put residential anywhere, in any level. The problem with that is you only have so much general retail space. You only have so much commercial space. You don't want to waste half of that on houses. There's plenty of house areas that have never been developed, and so retail shouldn't have residential houses, residential apartments or houses or condos or whatever mixed in with them. Neither should commercial. There's too many opportunities for conflict. There's too many opportunities for land to be wasted that way. And so, again, we talked about that with the commission. The commission unanimously agreed with that. And again, this is also part of your comp plan recommendation number 1519. Any questions any of you have?
Well, let's start off with the public hearing, and then we'll have the council's comments on this. I'll open the public hearing on this item. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or in opposition to this, please step forward. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up for council discussion. Any council members have anything?
I want to commend the staff on the work that goes into this. It's tedious, and I think this is moving Paris forward to schedule these uses.
Yeah, I was at the planning and zoning meeting and saw the discussion. There was a couple of things that were hashed out, but I assume those changes have been made to what's been presented to us, yeah. And this is actually, I think, just the first step. I think there's still more work that can be done, but
Lots more.
everything that's here, I think, is a huge step in the right direction. Anyone else have any comments?
I'll make the motion to accept the recommendation of the commission and staff.
Okay,
Second.
second. All in favor? All unanimous. Next is item number 14. Conduct a public hearing, discuss and act on an ordinance considering the petition of the City of Paris, Texas, amending zoning ordinance number 1710 of the City of Paris, Texas to add section 30, quote, buffering regulations. And I'll turn it over to John again.
This is, again, also from your comprehensive plan. This is recommendation 1527. In a minute, I'll talk about two other sections that are addressed in this single ordinance from the comp plan, two more recommendations that are expected from that. And this is kind of I know this city and probably every city talks about this from some time or another. And it's, one of your basic tenets with zoning is to protect neighborhoods. And so I'll give you an example. I don't know if it got all the way to you, but it was at P&Z, and the mayor was there, and seemed like maybe one or two other council members were, but over on 25th Street 2 or 3 months ago, had a gentleman wanted to build quadplexes. And there's no requirement for him to put any kind of wall, any kind of barrier, any kind of screening at all. So he can just put whatever he wants out there if he got that zoning. He did not. He actually withdrew his case because it was a pretty tough public hearing at P&Z. That might have made a difference if there was an opportunity to do that. Our zoning right now is so developer friendly. Developer friendly is a good thing, but giving the farm away to the developers going too far. And so if one of y'all have a vacant lot beside your house, if it happens to be commercial, and we have commercial zoning right next to people's houses, like I told a little while ago, we have occupied houses that are in commercial zoning. You can get a Walmart next door to you. You can get all kinds of things next door to you. Until a few minutes ago, you could have had an sexually-oriented business next door to you. And they don't even have to put a barrier up. They don't have to block the noise or the sound or the light or the traffic or the trash, any of that stuff. It's just okay to do that, the way our ordinance is written now. Another real-life example, some of you know Dr. O'Brien, who's a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. He wanted to put a vet clinic, small vet clinic over here on Lamar, and he was going to voluntarily put up a vegetative screen so it didn't bother the apartments next door. He didn't have a requirement to do that. That was just a voluntary thing he was going to do. And so that's why this has been in the comp plan. This recommendation was actually in the comp plan in 2001. It was in the comp plan in 2018. And the staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission, in fact, I think they said they enthusiastically recommend that. Two other things I wanted to mention real quickly, because these are additional recommendations from the comp plan. One is to do street landscaping at parking lots, so you don't just have a sea of concrete and you have nothing between. Right now you can build nothing but concrete, and there's nothing to block that view. It's not a very attractive view. Part of economic development is having a quality community, and if you don't do things well, you're not going to have a quality community. Another thing is screening of dumpsters, docks, those kinds of things at stores. So from the road or from any public street, if it's blocked off by the building itself or blocked off by other things, that's fine. But you shouldn't go down the street and have to see their dock or their dumpster pad. So that's all I have for now.
Okay. Let's get the public hearing next. I'll open the public hearing for any discussion on this. Please step up and address us if you have anything to say about this item. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and open it up for council comments. I'll start off, I appreciate the work. I think it looked good. The P&Z was 100% behind this, enthusiastically so, as they said. But I think this is another step in the right direction, modernizing some of our zoning requirements
Beautifying,
and beautifying.
keeping our city looking like a park, yes.
The 15%, I was reading through the other day, so is that the requirements of the specifications that we're putting in, is that kind of are we looking at that as a number that kind of everybody's looking at, or is that something we come up with, or?
You mean in other cities?
Yeah,
A majority of this is stuff I plagiarized from two other cities I wrote when I worked in other cities. This is lower than those two cities. We're Rowlett and Fairview. Theirs were like 25% in most of these cases. But I knew, we're not Fairview, we're not Rowlett, so, yeah. I mean, it's still a lot, but I don't think it's unreasonably a lot.
All right, any other comments or discussion? I'll entertain a motion on this one as well.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor of passing these, or this amendment? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Item number 15, discuss and act on an airport management contract and a flight-based operator agreement at Cox Field. Again, John, I'll turn this one over to you too.
Cox Field's been there since World War II, and for many years, we've had two different contracts. Both of them happen to be with JR Aviation. The FBO contract is older than the management contract. At one time, we did some of that in-house and so forth and so on. Once upon a time, they pulled the city employees from the airport and turned them into code enforcement guys. And so they're mowing grass now instead of taking care of the airport. Well, they've continued to do some of that. We've contracted a lot of that out. But JR Aviation's two contracts, one of them has already expired and one's going to any minute now. Maybe they both have. And we had talked with JR Aviation. He talked with the board, both. And we looked at different options. One would be to combine these into a single contract instead of two separate ones. It doesn't always make a whole lot of sense for them to be two separate contracts, especially because it wouldn't make sense for one person to have one person to have the other, probably because you couldn't make enough money. You need both to kind of make enough money to make it worth your while, I think. But ultimately, the board, and I don't disagree, the board decided to take a kind of an interim step, and that is let's recommend 5-year agreement. So to renew JR Aviation's agreements, two separate agreements, which I've rewritten. For example, in the duties of the management contractor, or JR Aviation, in the original contract, there were like 12 or 14 things they're required to do. Now there's 40-something they're required to do. So we got a lot more specificity in there. We also double the rate for the FBO agreement. Part of what they get revenue from is we pay the management contract $25,000 a year to just maintain stuff, fix stuff, all that. The FBO is run the terminal building, and then also sell gas, make gas available for people whenever they happen to show up. Historically, the city's gotten 5 cents a gallon, and so we've doubled that. So we'll get 10 cents per gallon instead of 5 cents a gallon. So if this all works out, he's going to be doing a whole lot more than he has been doing, at least contractually. I think he's been doing most of these things in real life anyway, so nothing against Jerry or his company. But he's required to do more things by contract anyway, and we'll get a bigger cut of the money. I guess that's all I got. I could talk forever, but I'm running out of air.
I have a question on the packet that we have. It states the airport board considered various options, including having the city issue a request for proposals for one or both agreements. And it sounds like the board was in favor of doing that, but apparently it takes 6 months to get that done. My question is, if the board really wants to put it out for a request for proposals, why are we granting a full 5-year extension? Why aren't we just granting a 1-year extension and then 6 months down the road put the request for proposals out? Was there a reason for that?
Well, that was something they talked about. They talked about a lot of different options. It was never anybody's favorite choice, to my knowledge. The motion to approve this, a board member made a motion, and this one was unanimously approved. So I guess you'd have to ask them why they. I mean, they talked about an RFP for one of them, for both of them.
Well, I agree to put them both in the same contract, but if, and it sounds like we're going to get the same person anyway, but
Chances are.
in all likelihood, but I just didn't see the waiting the 5 years, so.
Yeah,
that
I was a little surprised that they decided to do that, but that was
My feeling would be to, my feeling would be to go ahead and award the contract for the next year with the idea that in 6 months, put the request for proposals out and then see who we get after that rather than a full 5 years. But that's just my thoughts. I'll open it up for the rest of the council. Any comments or discussion on this?
I think that makes sense to me. It appears that just by awarding somebody a 5-year contract, you're not letting anybody else bid on it either. So I would feel more comfortable by giving a 1-year extension. And, if nobody else bids, that's fine. But at least we're giving the opportunity for somebody else to bid on it as well. 5 years just seems awfully long. I like the 1 year.
Yeah, the previous ones have been 10 years, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the 1 year and then put it out for bid and then go from there.
And I'm not making a case either way, but just so that you have all the knowledge you need to have. Part of their recommendation, which I didn't mention, was that we would do an RFP in that 4th year, because if it goes, it'll definitely go to another vendor unless Jerry changes his mind, because Jerry's planning on retiring, but at some point. So it would be done, that's what they were saying, well, let's just wait and do the RFP later. Again, don't know why they decided that's what they decided. An RFP process doesn't necessarily take all that long. We could write the performance standards. Basically, it would be the contract. I've already put performance standards in the contracts. So the other question that I have for you, if y'all are going to do this, is: are you talking about one contract for everything, or sticking with 2 contracts?
I'd go with one contract for everything. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I was assuming from reading this that we needed to go ahead and grant a 1-year extension, that it might be too difficult to get out of, or is that not true? It might not be.
Well, we wouldn't want to do it. We wouldn't want to send them down the road, because tomorrow we wouldn't have an operating airport.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to need to be a transition period of at least a few months.
Okay.
If somebody new came in.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I think that was part of the issue, if I recall,
Yeah.
that in the discussion, is because this has been a second-generation business, and particularly if you have the 2 contracts, as Mr. Godwin said, we don't pay the manager enough. It'd probably, be below minimum wage almost, because they put in a lot of hours out there, and I think that was part of the issue, and just the continuity that there has been through 2 generations.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments, suggestions, anything? Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry. But the JRA Aviation is here if you want to talk to him, if you have any questions of him. Or
Would anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. You're welcome to. Please just step up to the mic so we can all hear you.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Jerry Ritchie. I am the manager, owner of JR Aviation. We've been in business out there approximately 31 years. Last year, we've been a faithful servant of the Paris Airport. We've been there for, like I said, a long time. We've never had any issues, very few complaints. My understanding with the airport board recommendation was for a 5-year contract and not a year. They were looking, they know how long we've been out there. They know our dedication to the city of Paris and the airport itself. So we asked for 5 years because I am planning on retiring at some point, hopefully about that time. And so that's what the airport board recommendation was. There was nothing to do with a year or no, they talked about the RFQ thing, but they decided that they wanted to go with a 5-year thing. So that's what I asked for as an individual. We've been in business for a long time, and a year just doesn't do me a lot of good. I'd like to get the 5-year thing, and that's what I'm asking for, and I appreciate your consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Any comment or questions?
Any questions?
Well, I wasn't implying, sir, that you weren't doing a good job. Please understand that. It's just that it just seems to me to award a contract for 5 years without letting anybody else bid on it as well. I'm sure your reputation will show through in the RFP that you submit, But again, you know, it just seems like an awful long time to award a new contract to somebody without going through the process of, what is it?
A competitive bid.
The competitive
Yeah.
bid process.
I don't know what the bid process would be. I mean, it's just, it's not like a real lucrative thing. And I don't think anybody can beat our deal. We already figured out that it's pretty much, we're working for a minimum wage, so I don't think you want to pay anybody less than that. So, I mean, we do make money on the fuel sales also, obviously, but that's not the airport.
You may be the only one who bids on this. I mean,
And
if it were
probably-
put up for
You probably
it.
will be the only one that bids on it. You probably will be, but at least we're giving other people an opportunity. And that's, I think, is important to, you know, if they don't bid on it, that's fine. They don't bid on it and you're the award winner. But, you know, we still have to, I think it is our responsibility to give people an opportunity and not just lock it down to one person for 5 more years, although you are doing an excellent job.
Well, we are, and like I
That's
said,
not
this
the
is not the
point.
first time we've been here. I mean, we've renewed this contract over the years, and it's the first time anything like this has ever come up. So, I mean, anyway.
And John, if there was someone who wanted to come and open an FBO, I mean, we have the contract on the fuel tanks, but if they were going to come along and want to open FBO, is there anything that would stop them?
No.
Okay, so they could, so if another FBO wanted to come along, they could put in another FBO. I mean, they'd have to get their own fuel tanks and stuff. But I mean, that could consist of just having a tanker out. I mean, there's nothing against that. I mean, it would be a relatively, I mean, to install permanent fuel tanks is a lot of money. But for someone to buy fuel and keep it out there in a truck, I mean, that would be not that much for starting a business wise. So, I mean, if someone else wanted to come in, they could. There's just nobody else. And I'm Jerry's daughter, by the way. I'm Brandy. I'm a flight instructor out at the airport, and I'm literally an airport brat. My entire adult life has been spent professionally out at the airport. Now I'm giving back to aviation by teaching, and I know my dad, who's been out there my family's been out there since '88, and we've been very loyal to the city of Paris, and we would, appreciate it in return. But I mean, I understand your point as well, and that's appreciated. But I mean, if another FBO wanted to come in, they could. So there's nothing really blocking them, except they wouldn't be able to get the fuel tanks. But
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other discussion or any other questions?
I have I have to agree that, I mean, if another FBO wanted to come in, we're not awarding a contract based on a bid, we're awarding a contract based on they're doing business out there. And another FBO shows up, they're gonna have the same meeting they're having today. They're gonna have a certain amount they have to pay, they're gonna have to do their equipment and everything, and I can imagine in their business, aviation equipment's not cheap. Going year to year is gonna be really tough on somebody trying to have a continuing business. I completely support the 5-year from what the airport board put forth.
Okay.
That is what they recommended. So.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Oh, that is what the board recommended.
And John, you say previously it's been 10 years.
Correct.
The rest of them, so they went down to 5 because he's planning on retiring.
Yeah, correct. And in the board's mind, this was a stopgap contract, even the 5-year is a long stopgap.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other comments?
I think in 5 years, it might be something we look at
Well,
then, but
Yeah, they stated they were going to do it in 5 years, but my question was simply, if they wanted to do it in 5 years, why don't they want to do it in 1 year? But that was, that was my feeling on it. All right, anything else? Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept the 5-year. as it's written.
Motion to accept the 5-year in a
Second.
second. All in favor? Okay, and opposed? Okay, and it passes? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, number 16, discuss and act on amendments and enforcement of hangar leases at Cox Field. And there's a number of these here. John, you want to go over these with us, or?
Yes, sir. There's actually 4 different groups of recommendations. There are 9 recommendations that are basically performance type of things that you have to include in your hangar lease. And so the current hangar lease, everybody gets the same lease, was adopted by the council about 2 years ago. I remember Ms. Portugal was actually on the airport board at the time. So it's been 2 or a little more years, and adopted a still a pretty long, complicated contract, but shorter than the old one that it followed. And if you'll recall, maybe I think I mentioned at this meeting, the old hangar lease actually doesn't have a ending date in it. It just was forever, apparently. And so several changes there. Two of them I wanted to mention, and highlight them in the memo too. One is a new thing that if there's no activity for 180 days, then we kick them out, basically. If you got a hangar and you haven't used it for 180 days, for me, it's hard to argue that that's okay, because that's not why we build hangars. Hangars are expensive. We don't have enough hangars. We have people on a waiting list, and we have people that don't even use the ones they have. And the second thing, and Ms. Spencer mentioned this, is giving a preference for Lamar County folks. The board actually made, I think, 7 different motions on that particular thing. It got a little confusing at the airport board meeting one evening. But ultimately, what they recommended was they did want to give anybody from Lamar County, whether they're in Paris or not, preference. But they grandfathered everybody that's already on the list and everybody that already has a lease. So if there's anybody that's number 5 on the list and they're from El Paso County, this doesn't change that. They're still number 5 on the list. So they went back with motion number 4 or 5 or 6 that night to change it so that all the people that are on there are protected. So the only effect that has is people that are not on the list yet from El Paso County, they'll probably never get on there unless there's only one person on the waiting list and he or she's it. So just to clarify that, it got pretty confusing because it was people felt pretty strongly about it, but that's where we are now on that. And then also the lease rates, we did a survey, specifically Jerry and one of our city employees did a lease survey on rents, and there's a chart in your packet that shows recommended rates. Almost all of them are going up. The ones that are not are people that have pretty new leases already. When we opened up the new hangar last year, rented it to 4 new people, they all executed the new city lease at that time, so they already have one. So that's why their rent's not going up. It's already higher than the rest of the folks. I think it's 185, 195 for those. But most of those rents would be going up, not a whole lot, but going up. And the point there is trying to get that to market rate or close to market rate.
How many people do we have on the waiting list?
Anywhere from, Jerry would probably know, or Randy know better than I, it's like in the teens,
18?
18.
You know, it just seems to me, it always has, that whatever rate is, you know, if I have an apartment complex and my apartment complex is completely filled and I have 25 people that want to get my apartment complex, there's one possible thing, my rate's too low. And it's basic supply and demand. So whether we're competitive with surrounding areas or not, our own waiting list proves that our prices are too low.
And they have been for a long time.
And have been for a long time. And I'm obviously in favor of increasing it. This may not be nearly enough. I think in 6 months or a year, if we still have a waiting list that long of people, we either need to build more hangars or raise our rent, one or the other, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's something we'll certainly watch. Yeah. I know the board will be watching that. And then we'll see what we need to do from there. And then the third section is the new hangar policy. And this hangar policy is mostly information that's already in the hangar lease. So it's not like it's a whole new lot of things. Some of the somewhat new things are you're required to hang the hangar policy in your hangar so that you know what it is and other people know what you're supposed to be doing. You have to have a common lock, so that the airport manager can get into your hangar. Because it's owned by the city, whenever we need to. We did not we, but folks did a inspection out there of the hangars a couple of months ago, and pretty good cooperation with folks. They had a couple of them that had a hard time getting into, but you don't know why we would need to be able to get in those, but we need to be able to get into those hangars from time to time. And so common lock, just kind of small things that we've included in that hangar policy. And of course, you've got it in your packet. And then finally, this fourth thing here, which I've already talked about. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the 3 things I already talked about. The 180 days for the first thing there, and then updating the old leases, and that's the one I haven't talked about. Requiring leases these last 2 are really important. Update all the old leases, and so if you signed a lease in 1974 or 1983 or 1999 even, you're not using an up-to-date hangar lease. So the leases that were adopted by the council, like I said, about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. First by the airport board and then by the council. They don't have that lease. And so the airport board is saying they should have to come to date. They should, not only we're going to raise their rents, but while we're doing that, they should sign a new agreement. because the new agreement covers more things. The point of it is it's a better agreement. So if we have a new, better lease agreement, why would we not use it? And so they're recommending that all the old leases, and that's a majority of folks out there have an old lease, be updated to the standard, the new-ish standard template. And then finally, that those that are out of compliance, and there's one or two or three that are not in compliance, that they've been, according to the contract, like most contracts, there's a cure period. In this case, there's a 30-day cure period. What that means is you send them a letter, city attorney or somebody sends them a letter and says, okay, you're in violation of your lease because of this, this, and this, and you have 30 days to fix it. And hopefully they'll fix it. It's no big deal. If they're not, then they're in violation of the lease, and we start the process to evict them like any other kind of a rental property. And the first thing, I hadn't talked about that yet. The first thing on this list was people who don't have leases. This is the part that shocked me the most. People would get a lease from the city, like, Joe Smith would get a lease from the city and have it playing out there for 10, 12 years. He goes, I don't want it anymore. And he would just give it to somebody else. And no, he doesn't even tell us. And so there's people out there using hangars now who don't even, do they not have an old lease? They don't have any lease. They're just in there. And so the board's opinion there was they should all get kicked out because they're not supposed to be in there anyway. And so while we've had a waiting list, people have gotten ahead of them with help from their friends, and that's good for their friends, but that's cheating. They were breaking in line, in other words. And so new leases are not supposed to just be handed out by tenants. They're supposed to be handed out by the owners, and that's the city of Paris. So that's what that one's about. So there's a lot of different changes, and maybe I shouldn't throw them all in one single agenda item, but we can always cull some out or change some if you want, but they all seem to make a lot of sense, and it's something the board has talked about quite a lot over the last several months.
Yep.
I have a question. Who owns are all the hangars out there owned by the city of Paris?
No, there's a series of hangars that are where we own the ground and they build their own hangars.
Okay.
They have a separate kind of lease. Those are called ground lease hangars. You lease the ground
Okay.
for 40 years. At the end of the 40 years, if there's a building left, we get it or we negotiate a longer lease.
And that's where people are living?
That's where we know at least one person that's the case, yes.
Okay. And are they going to get kicked out? Because number 9 says no hangar shall be used as a residence or shall be used for residential purposes.
Now again, tonight we're talking about city-owned hangars.
Okay.
So it's a
Well, if
different-
this
it's
is
a
not
different
the
group of
same
people.
kind of thing, then that's fine.
Yeah, it's a different group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and not to get into the details of that, but just so you know, since others may wonder, it was before my time, I'm happy to say, but somewhere along the way, someone from the city gave a building permit to build an apartment inside of a hangar, which they shouldn't have been allowed to do that, but they were.
Well, I understand there's more than just one.
Okay, I didn't know that even.
More out there, and
Yeah.
people are living out
Yeah,
there,
and
and more than just one.
The new ground lease, for what it's worth, the new ground hangar lease is, it allows you to stay there like overnight 3 times a year or 7 times, but not to live there permanently. So it's more specifically prohibited. That was something else we did when Ms. Portugal was on the board to make sure that was specific. So there's just a lot of problems. It's going to take a while to clean them all up.
But
because
all these people that are out there now are going to be grandfathered until they leave or
Well,
the time is up, their 40 years are up.
The ones that have city-owned leases, no, because they don't have an expiration date. All we have to do is give them 30 days notice and kick them out. The ground leases are different. They are more complicated, and they provide more opportunities for them to not pay attention to us. I know one of the ones you're talking about, I assume one of the ones you're talking about, expires in 3 or 4 years anyway, which is a good thing, I think, because that's not what hangars are out there for, obviously.
Okay.
Regarding the restriction against people getting on the waiting list from out of the county, I'm just in favor of anybody. I don't see the purpose of that, and I agree with Ms. Spencer on that. I would be opposed to having that in here. If somebody wants to keep a plane there, if they happen to live over the county line, I don't see any reason, because they would never be able to get there with the waiting list we've got. So I just don't see that's of any substantial value to keep that in there. So that's my 2 cents on that.
The current leases, are the people that are currently in the hangars that don't have written leases, we're going to give them the opportunity to sign a new lease? No.
That's not what the airport board want to do. The airport board want to remove them in 180 days or 30 days or whatever it is. They want to remove them because
That list.
they weren't. It's not like we gave them a list and we approved it and they just never got around to signing it. Some of us didn't even know they were in there.
How many non-paper hangers are there out there, non-leased hangers, I
I
guess?
don't know, Jerry, you might know better. I don't know if it's 3 or 5, but there's a few.
It's like 3.
3, yeah, so it's
Oh,
not a whole
okay,
bunch.
okay.
And I don't, that's the way the airport operated at the time. It's not that anybody was doing anything malicious. It's just, that's the way it used to operate. You just kind of, whatever. And it needs to be a real airport if we're gonna have an airport, in my opinion, and the board's.
So that's addressed under number 7, lessee has no authority to issue any sublease.
Right.
So that would immediately make it, which I think is appropriate. I mean,
Yeah.
we should be leasing them. And I agree completely with the inspection, that if we want planes there and there's people waiting in line, if
Right.
people have hangars that don't have planes in them, they should be kicked off, they should be terminated.
Will this mess up I know there's maybe 2 hangars that have offices that are every day, Monday through Friday. And these are people that own the hangars that are doing the 40-year
Yeah,
ground
no,
leases?
we have provisions for that to operate businesses out there, so those folks will all be fine. The only ones that will be long-term will be affected is the folks that have living quarters, which they're not supposed to. But no, those are we encourage that, in fact. And we just had a deal where a large hangar that's in 3 pieces was combined into a single piece, and new tenants are moving in there, and they run a business as well as, I think, Flying for Fun sort of thing, but they have a business as well.
So with the new lease, will it be a termination? I mean, if I rent one with the new lease, I have it forever, or or we're gonna do like apartments where, I mean,
I know the ground leases are for 40 years, and I think the city leases they're either for 30 or 40 years. They're long-term.
long term?
Yeah. 7 years. That wasn't even
7
close.
years? That's what I'm saying. After that 7 years, and based on, like the mayor said, if you live in an apartment, you might live there for 2 years, sign a 2-year lease. Now, after that lease is up, your rent goes up, or you move out, because I stay there forever if I'm paying this low rate. But with people on the waiting list, I mean, you're kind of losing money, because if you.
Yeah, one of the things that's in both of the leases, the ground lease and the city-owned hangar leases, is an automatic inflator.
Okay.
So the lease amounts will go up based on the cost of other hangar spaces in the North Texas area. So that's built in automatically. Their rent will go up each year.
But again, the presence of the waiting list indicates that we're well below market value.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what feeds the sublease market, because if you can get it for below market value, you can lease it to someone else who's willing to pay more. So I think that's what that.
And subleases for the operator-owned hangars are really common.
Yeah.
But for the other ones, it shouldn't be.
For the city-owned ones, huh?
Yeah.
Any other discussions or comments on this?
I agree with Ms. Spencer that it looks like we're not open for business if we limit who can rent a hangar. I think we should be open to anybody. And I think this council, with the budget year coming this summer, we need to think about how can we build some more hangars.
That would be nice, yeah. Because we obviously have a lot of people that want to put planes out there and can't.
I would also like to say, I think that Mr. Godwin is the first city manager in a very long time that's taken the time and the laborious effort to sort out this mess. Because when I went on, and Ms. Spencer went on at the same time, back rents weren't being paid, letters weren't being sent, you owe us money. People were using hangars that didn't have leases. It was a real mess. And Mr. Godwin has taken such an interest in updating everything out there. Also, I've heard that there have been city managers in the past that would not even return Mr. Ritchie's calls. And I think Mr. Godwin and the airport board have a good working relationship with Mr. Ritchie. And that takes time to develop. So I think that's another reason to maybe stay with the 5-year like we have it right now.
Okay, any other discussion? Anybody want to make a motion regarding this with any exceptions?
I'll make a motion, and we need to put the exception in. We need to open that up to.
Strike number 8,
Yeah.
okay.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor of passing this with the exception of item number 8, raise your hand. And it's unanimous. Okay. And the next one is just a procedural thing. There's been some discussion by some council members of doing a slight alteration to how we evaluate the city employees. That would be the city manager, the municipal judge, and the city attorney. Ms. Portugal, you wanted to, this is something we're going to propose, which this is a procedure, so it's not eligible for executive committee, but then the actual discussion will be in executive. You want to?
Yes, thank you. I think last year, those of us that were new on the council, our first year doing the evaluations, felt a little bit of pressure doing all 3 at one time, new evaluation forms that we hadn't seen previously, and we felt like it would be a service to all the people that we are evaluating to give a fair and thorough examination of the work that they do, and to hopefully come up with a document that they could use for marking their progress in areas where progress was needed, improvement needed, and also where, pat on the back, this is a good job. And so that we could do that in a 2-step process. 1 step tonight, another step the next meeting, so forth.
Okay. So we'll have a preliminary discussion regarding this, and we'll pass out the evaluation forms. And then the next time we get together, I believe we're gonna collate all the information. So if the council is agreeable to it, if you're not, we can do it the old way, or you can do yours the old way as well. So we don't actually have to vote on this, but this is just a discussion regarding that. All right. It's now 6:22, and we're going to convene into executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, consultation with attorney to receive legal advice from the city attorney about pending or contemplated litigation and/or on matters in which the duty of an attorney to her client under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with this chapter as follows. Paris Regional Medical Center, 260 South Main Street, the Belford Apartments. Section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease of value or real property as follows. 260 South Main Street, Belford Apartments. Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. 1, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee as follows. Annual evaluation of city manager, annual evaluation of the municipal judge, and annual evaluation of the city attorney. We're going into executive session. Session. It is now 7:47. We obtained legal advice from, I'm sorry? 6:47, I'm sorry. My bad, thank you. We obtained advice from the city attorney regarding the matters discussed. We began the evaluation process, which will be completed our next meeting. And let's see. No action was taken. Item number 20, discuss and possibly act on a resolution of intent to release judgment for civil penalties on the Belford Apartments building upon completion of rehabilitation or demolition of the structure located at 260 South Main Street. And I have a little item that I wrote up, a proposal that I'm going to make and throw it up for the council for discussion. This particular item is necessary in order to allow any sale of the Belford building. There's currently a penalty that encumbers the property of over $2 million due to fines that have been assessed since August of 2012. This resolution is intended to reassure any potential purchaser of the property that the council would not demand payment of this penalty should the building be demolished or restored. To fail to pass this resolution would most likely make it impossible for anyone to purchase the building. I'm in agreement with the resolution, but I would like to make a couple of changes to it. I want to propose at least some changes for the council's discussion. I want to be sure this building is made safe in a timely fashion, and there's currently no time resolution, no time requirement on this resolution. The last thing I want is to see this property sell and the new owner does nothing with it for an extended period of time. If that happens, nothing useful will have been accomplished. We'll be right back where we were. So I do think we need some sort of a time requirement on this. I propose we amend this resolution to require that as a condition of forgiving the large penalty that encumbers the Belford building, that the buyer, whoever he or she may be, commit to within 18 months, either demolishing the building entirely, if that is the buyer's goal, or to stabilize the facade within that same 18-month period so it's no longer a health hazard for the public if the buyer's goal is to renovate and restore the building. If this isn't accomplished within 18 months, then the council will not guarantee to forgive the penalty. We might, but our resolution, we're going to guarantee to, so I would like to put an 18-month time limit on it. This will hopefully ensure that by 18 months, the structure will no longer be a public hazard, which is, of course, our number one goal. I also want to make another proposed change to this resolution. I strongly believe all historic buildings downtown, if at all possible, should be restored. I understand the Belford building might yet be amenable to restoration as long as the facade is still standing. There are lucrative tax credits that make restoration economically feasible. I therefore believe the council should express our preference that the building be restored rather than demolished. We've set a minimum bid of $50,000 for this building, and this was done to encourage serious bidders on it. To encourage restoration over demolition, I suggest that we commit not only to forgive the entire penalty to any buyer who stabilizes and completely restores the building within 5 years, but that we also commit to the $50,000 that we're going to get in the minimum bid. I think we should commit to repaying that $50,000 as a reward in economic development incentive under Chapter 380 to anyone who purchases and manages to restore this historic building. It may not happen, but at least we can put our fingers on the scale and say we would prefer this be restored rather than demolished, if possible. It's a very small amount of money and probably will be relatively insignificant, but I do believe it'll send a message that we would rather see it restored if at all possible. So those are my proposed changes to it, and just my opinion. I'll open it up. Anybody else have anything to say about this or any? Yes, sir.
You're saying the 50,000 that we're returning, is that if they complete it during the 18 months?
No, the 18, my suggestion is we got to get it safe within 18 months. So that will either, if somebody buys it that wants to tear it down, make it safe and remove the eyesore. Or if a person wishes to buy it to restore, we'll give them 18 months to get the facade stabilized so it's not in danger of falling down and killing somebody. Mm-hmm. So that's the first part of it is put a time limit on this. So if you're not going to do something with it by 18 months, don't buy it. Because we want to get this thing safe. We'd like to, that's the number one main priority, but the second priority is maybe, well, there's several priorities. Get it safe, get it looking good, and hopefully, possibly, maybe restored. But then give 5 years or whatever time period we think is reasonable after the facade is stabilized to complete the restoration of the building. And restoration might be defined as issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
Yes. So I mean, my question is with that 50,000, would it be some kind of clause that you cannot demolish it at any time, or?
No, anybody that could buy it could demolish it. But this
I'm saying on the return of the money, like you were saying.
After the building supposedly had been finished, we would commit to paying an economic development incentive under the Chapter 380, which we set up a year or two ago. That would allow us to do it. We wouldn't, the PEDC wouldn't be involved. It would be the council would do it. And so it won't cost the council any money. The $50,000 minimum bid that we'll get for it, that's the money we would use for the economic development, the Chapter 380 grant.
Oh, yes, I'm saying if they, at any point, like we return that to them, what kind of clause do they have that 5 years from now they don't finish the?
Oh, we're not giving it to them until it's completed.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
No, that's the whole point. It wouldn't, it would have to be completed, and if it never got completed, it would never get it.
Okay.
And furthermore, if they don't even have it stabilized within 18 months, we're not even going to guarantee to give them the tax, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. So I'm all for that. I mean, either way they want to do it, demolish it or redo the building. My question is if we sheriff sale and we transfer the property to the new owner, what is going to be the fail-safe? This is a question for Stephanie on the deed side. Are we going to general warranty deed them and say, here you go, it's all you, or are we going to have a clause? We're going to have some kind of, I mean, how do we structure that? Because somebody gets in there and then they go put a lien on the building with a bank, and then they're in federal bankruptcy, protection in 12 months, and that's part of the, that could, I don't know, what's the legality there?
Well, the way that gets transferred in a sheriff's sale is a sheriff's deed. So there aren't deed restrictions in a sheriff's deed, and that's by that process is a statutory process. There are no 100% guarantees on any of this. We're just trying to use the biggest carrots and the biggest sticks that we have to obtain a safe result and not have a dangerous structure on that property. And Mr. Mayor, can I ask you a clarifying point, since if you want to do this, I'm going to be the one doing the paperwork. Is that 5 years on top of the 18 months that you're proposing, or a 5-year altogether?
Take your pick, whatever makes the most sense. I don't want to put an unreasonable time limit on this.
My recollection is that when we were discussing this building back a year or so ago, the original proposal from HPC was a 5-year total period.
That was my thought when I proposed this, but I'm open for, discussion on that. I just want to see it stabilized. I want to see it made safe in 18 months by either demolishing it or by stabilizing the facade so that restoration is at least possible.
And I would foresee too, if someone's intent is to restore the building as a part of this $50,000 incentive, that we would enter into a 380 economic development agreement, which makes clear what their performance requirements are.
Yeah. It wouldn't be given to them until, let's say, a certificate of occupancy was issued because it's finished. That'd be the way I'd be thinking. But at least this is a way the council to say, hey, we understand something's got to be done about this, but our preference would be to see this historic building restored, if at all possible, rather than just willy-nilly we tear it down. And that may be what has to happen to the building anyway. That's what I thought for a long time, but I did have a couple of discussions with folks that said, nah, if the facade is still there, it's restorable. And it may rebuild most of it, but the historic facade will still be up there, and we might potentially be able to save the building. I have no idea who's going to buy it or if anybody's even going to be interested in buying it. We may have a sheriff's sale. There may be no bidders. But I wanted to throw this out there. Yes, Paula.
Did you pick the 18 months based on maybe the length of time it takes for grant writing and so forth, or just?
I just picked that for just an arbitrary number that I wanted to get it safe as soon as possible. I don't think that tearing it down will even take that long. However, stabilizing the facade, again, surely that won't take more than 18 months, but I don't know. And if the buyer came to us with a proposal, certainly I'd be willing to be flexible on that. This is not written in stone. This is a resolution stating the intent of the council to do this in order to reassure the buyer that they're not going to have $2 million worth of fines to pay, because that goes with the property until we take it off of it. And that's the thing we've got.
Ms. Knox, you've had a lot of experience with historic buildings and that sort of thing, preservation. What are your feelings?
Well, I was going to ask, is there any assurance that whoever is successful in the bid process, what do we have that they're not going to buy it and just let it sit there like it is now?
We really don't.
We have none?
On anybody who buys it, other than telling them that we may not abate, we may not forgive the penalties
so
unless they do this.
So that's-
then
okay.
they'll own the building. The problem is, we don't have any guarantee that someone's not going to buy this and sit on it for another 10 years.
Right, well, we
and
don't
let
want
$2 more
that.
million worth of things. We don't want that.
Right, so-
And that's one of the reasons we put the minimum bid of 50,000.
Okay.
And so, but we don't have any guarantees on that.
Okay, so,
We still have a valid demolition order on this
Okay.
building, that if we had to, push came to shove, and it, stuff was actively falling in the street, and we found the money to do it, we could still demolish the building. There may be sound legal reasons to go through the BSC process again with the building, but we technically have a valid demolition order
Right.
on the building.
so if somebody does buy it, and they will be awarded the forgiveness of all the back taxes and,
Well, it's
or
not back
or
taxes.
whatever, the fines, it's like $1 million or $2 million.
It's over two.
2 million, 2-point-something million dollars of fines, that's forgiven if they buy the building and do something with it.
Correct.
Okay.
Within the stated timeframe.
Correct. I would like to see something added.
Okay.
I would like to see 6 months of groundwork. There's trees growing up in the back courtyard, the lawn hasn't been mowed, it's collecting trash, there's all kinds of weeds growing up. If that can be, I would like to see 6 months put in there so that the grounds get
So
beautified
6 months
or
to get
cleaned
it
up.
more visually appealing, i.e. cut the trees down that are
Exactly.
growing in
Whoever
it.
owns it cleans it up. And the grounds, 6 months for the grounds and perhaps 18 months for stabilizing the building or tearing it down. And then the 5 years total for restoration. I think that sounds good to me.
I like that
Yeah,
addition.
I mean, I just really don't, I'm so tired of seeing that place with the weeds and we're coming into the spring and the rains and it's all gonna grow up and the weeds are gonna take over. The vines will take over and the tree is driving me nuts in the back. And that's a short trip.
Any other comments on this? Well, I'll make a motion then that we, or you want to make the motion?
Oh, I was going to second it.
Okay, I'll
Go ahead.
make the motion that we approve our resolution of intent to release judgment of civil penalties pending the provisions that we discussed, this is going to be a long motion, that the structure either be stabilized or demolished within 18 months in order to get the penalty abatement. I don't want the penalty abatement, though, to be just because it's stabilized, you get the penalty abatements. You got to do more than stabilize it. I want to see. So, in that, if one is planning on restoring it, we'll say that as long as you've got it stabilized in 18 months, we're on track to relieve the taxes. I keep calling it taxes, the penalties. And if the building is completed in 5 years, not only will we forgive the penalties, but we will kick in an extra $50,000 of Chapter 380 economic development that we would have received from the sheriff's sale minimum bid.
And 6 months to clean up the
And,
yard.
and 6 months to clean up the vegetation and make it visually appealing.
Correct, I think.
Second the
And
motion.
second, whatever that motion was. Okay, all in favor? Okay, yes. And the final item, future events. We have the retreat on Saturday. I will try to be there. Something came up. I may potentially miss it. Is there any possibility we can move it to the next Saturday, or is that going to conflict with some other people too? I know Linda has a conflict with that. She's going to have to miss graduation in order to attend it, and she would very much like to go to graduation. But do people a week after Saturday, do they have conflicts? Is that going to work for anybody, or is it?
That day.
It'd be April 6th.
Yeah, I could be there then, and I think Linda could be there as well.
I'll be there on the 30th.
You'll be there, and
but I'd rather not, yeah.
I'd rather not too.
Yeah.
I've got something that came up that I
Sixth-
kind of need
sixth
to
is fine
do,
with
but
me.
Tell me when and where.
Is 6th fine with you, Paula?
No, but I'll be there.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so we've got a death in the family here, so Mr. Hughes might prefer it next week, a week after next as well, if that's all right. If that's okay, is that going to be all right to move it to a week from Saturday? That'll help me out. I think it'll help at least three of us out.
That's a 3-day
So,
week.
okay.
Yeah, we haven't posted it yet, so.
Okay, great. All right, and then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Okay.